welcome to this SWE Europe Inspiration session. My name is Claudine Schmuck, and I am the founder and managing director of Global Contact, and I'll be your host and moderator today. Personally, myself, I have worked in the subject of gender balance in STEM for over 20 years, launching a global survey, which we'll be sharing some results of with you today. I am delighted to be joined today by my colleague, Vitória Acerbi, Gender Scan Program Manager, and Marine Rabeyrin, EMEA Education Segment Director at Lenovo. Actually, to learn more about our backgrounds, you can refer to the link in the chat, which you can see directly on the right hand on the screen. As we go through the session, feel free to share your questions for us, as well as comments, experiences, and ideas in the chat. And after the presentation, we'll have a live Q&A to address your questions and remarks. Then we'll move to breakout rooms so you can exchange ideas with one another. And then after that, we'll have a quick wrap-up session. So I'll move on to the first slide introducing overall the presentation, the content of the presentation. Launched in 2008, GenderScan is a study that is meant to provide insights regarding roadblocks to gender balance in STEM and identify key levers. Today, GenderScan is the only survey that covers both the subject of STEM education and STEM jobs, and that enables us to generate a comprehensive view of all the factors that contribute to the issue, which is called the leaky pipeline. Our online surveys actually uses a set of dynamic questionnaires available in 4 languages, and they adapt in real time to tailor questions to the target audience. The survey analyzes the experience and perceptions of individuals across all those fields, covering the entire spectrum from primary to secondary education until professional work in the workplace. We have 3 separate surveys, one for teenagers, second for students, and the third for professionals. They gather responses from all gender, including non-binary, of course, across a wide range of work fields. And this allows for afterwards a disaggregation of data across multiple factors. We can do a sort of benchmark across, education level, countries, etc. So we have multiple ways to exploit the data and share it with our partners. This enables us to produce focused analysis and facilitates comparative analysis between different sectors. Today, we have more than 400 organizations all over the world who are partners in the 2024 survey. And this year, UNESCO has tasked GenderScan with conducting a global survey, on one hand for students and the other for professionals. These are meant to provide essential data for a report for the G20. Already, a first policy report has been generated and produced in 2024 to inform the G20 held in Brazil in November 24 in Brazil on key issues that have to be dealt with. Actually, you have a link again in the chat that you can have a look at. However, more data are yet to come because we have decided with the UNESCO to keep the surveys online longer in order to gather more responses and generate results that could reflect issues and concerns of a wider audience. Today, we already count over 4,000 respondents among students and 6,000 among professionals. Actually, we invite you to participate in the employee survey, which will be online until February 2025. But you'll have a link right now, which is shared with you in the chat, but we'll discuss that again later on. Now I hand over to Vitória and Marine, who will share with you some key insights from our recent research. So Vitória, it's your turn now.
Thank you, Claudine. Hello, everyone. So today we'll delve into some provisional data from the 2024 GenderScan survey to explore the critical issue of the leaky pipeline in STEM. So we know that we not only have lower proportions of women than men who decide to choose STEM studies and step into STEM jobs, but also those who do reach these studies and jobs tend to leave at higher proportions than their male counterparts. So we have a look in today at what our data tells us about the motivations between choosing STEM studies, the challenges students face during their studies, and that transition into the workforce, exploring the satisfaction and dissatisfaction factors at work with a gender lens. So let's delve into it. For a start, some data from our student survey. So we asked respondents why they chose their studies, and data tells us that there is a notable convergence between men and women. So the hierarchy of factors is very similar. Curiosity comes first. The possibility to work in many different sectors comes second, followed by the potential impact of technology on society. So this indicates to us the broad appeal of STEM's diverse career pathways and perceived societal importance. On the other hand, we do have some differences between the proportions of women and men who say they were motivated by the level of pay and the wide range of opportunities for employment, which is coherent with research on the matter that suggests that women tend to be socially conditioned to value communal goals over individual achievements, so they are less likely to cite money as the primary driver for their decision. Now, moving on to the challenges students face in their studies. When we ask them, what difficulties do you face? Some gender disparities emerge. So higher proportions of women than men complain about all the identified issues. We draw your attention to stress levels and the feeling of not being good enough, where differences are significant, which suggests that there is a pressing need for interventions that help young women build confidence and resilience to navigate these studies successfully. In addition to that, we also see significantly higher proportions of women who complain about sexism and harassment and violence, the atmosphere, the feeling of not belonging, and the struggle to find internships, which highlights a sense of exclusion and imbalance that impacts their educational experience, and which indicates the need for institutions to develop programs to make the environment safer and more inclusive for young women and for all to bloom. So now I'd like to invite Marie to share her perspectives with us.
Thanks a lot, Vitória. Yes, today, hello everybody, and very happy to be here. Today I'm here also to bring perspective from companies like Lenovo, so STEM company, and share, what can be done in those areas. So Vitória, based on what you have been sharing, there was two key areas that pop up in my mind. First of all, is the role of company like Lenovo and any company in the tech industry in getting in touch directly with the students, and especially girl students, to support them in their journey during their studies. And to make it happen, I think in every country, there are very relevant associations which make and create this bridge between companies and schools. In Lenovo, we have different partnerships with association like Bicomtech, like STEMET, which give us the occasion to get in touch in different through different formats. Could be mentoring on long term, or coaching very short term. Can also be that we are joining some bootcamp where we share what we do, the type of job we have, and also share our perspective related to the need of girls in STEM. So we need to keep doing this, and I would encourage everyone to do the same in your own company. If you can also, with your own private network, make also the connection with the school that around you, and try to link those schools with your own company. There is one thing that I would like to comment, which was on your previous slide, Vitória, which was related to the question of remuneration. And I think, you are perfectly right when you are mentioning the fact that maybe, there is an expectation that women would focus rather on the communal and societal role. So less looking for a very individual motivation. But I believe one thing that we can share during those interlock with the school is that remuneration is important because it contributes and has a societal impact. The more women earn money, the more we foster autonomy, financial autonomy, and create a balanced environment in our society. So I think we could help them to have a specific attention to remuneration because it matters and it creates a real difference on the society. So that's something that I always promote is that please, join STEM because we need women in STEM, but you will also gain good remuneration. And by gaining good remuneration, you will also have a bigger impact in the change of our society. Second comment on my side, which was rather on your second slide, Vitória, related to the gap between expectation from students, maybe to meet and prepare themselves for their professional life and what they will find in their study. And once again, I believe companies like us have a role to play by also creating relationship with school, partner with them to also include and propose content that they will be able to use in their curriculum, which will be maybe more closer to company's life and also company expectations, so that students feel more prepared to enter the work life. On that aspect, so I can also share the example of what we do with Lenovo. So we have, for example, developed courses related to sustainability from a company perspective. So what do we expect? What type of skills we need around sustainability, so that we also it helps us to move our journey around sustainability. So we have created a number of courses, and we are sharing those courses to schools so that they can embed that in their curriculum. And another example is something that we have been developing in partnership with two NGOs called Impact AI and Interrel, where we have been creating a kit, training kit that any universities or school, especially STEM schools, can use to drive awareness of their students around AI and the potential bias, more specifically gender bias related to AI. So those are things that matters to company and that can probably drive more curiosity from the students so that they can feel more connected with what they are learning at school. Over to you, Vitória.
Thank you, Marie. These are really so important. Our teenage survey shows that young girls tend to be less aware of the opportunities that STEM jobs give. So these kind of interventions are really crucial. Now, moving on to some insights from our survey directed to employees. So here's an overview of the proportions of respondents satisfied with the different pillars of gender equality and job satisfaction. So the point to make here is that career management is the factor with the lowest proportions of satisfied professionals in the STEM sectors. And it's also the factor that registers the highest gender gap concerning the proportion of satisfied respondents. So what this tells us is that the tail that women leave because they have caregiving duties is only part of the story. It's not the whole story. Women also leave because they don't see the way up the ladder, right? And we need to tackle that. So let's look further into the reasons behind this lower level of satisfaction with career management in their jobs. So for each of those pillars that we just explored, we asked respondents about different specific mechanisms that companies, organizations usually have to deal with them. We asked them if they know if such schemes exist, if they are implemented, and if they actually use it. So here is the proportions of respondents who say, yes, these exist, and yes, I do use them. So good news, there's a notable convergence between women and men concerning awareness and use of personal development training, personalized support during major life events, and networking groups and career mentoring. These are fundamental for equipping employees with the tools they need to navigate career progression. But on the other hand, women are less likely than men to know about and to use reintegration support after prolonged absence and workload management support. So this is especially serious if we take into account that women are much more likely than men to take on a higher share of domestic and care workload, and also to take part-time positions or career breaks due to these caregiving responsibilities. So these can create gaps that might hinder their progression. And the fact that they use less suggests that either these programs are under-promoted or they're not tailored effectively to address the challenges faced by women, or there are certain certain barriers that discourage them from actually taking advantage of these support mechanisms when they're there. And without support in these cases, women may be more likely to, experience burnout, to have reduced productivity, or to be forced ultimately to choose between career and their caregiving responsibilities. So this can give us a hint about why less women than men are satisfied with career management in their professional life. So I'll pass the floor to Marine now for her contributions to our discussion.
Thanks a lot, Vitória. And once again, when I was looking at the extract from the survey, a few things pop up. Clearly, one is the fact that on one side, it is very important that in our companies, we treat the HR process with a specific angle related to diversity and inclusion. So we need to make sure that D&I is fully embedded in the HR process that is implemented in companies, and are able to address the specific need related to gender situation. This angle obviously can be already covered by HR. In many companies, there is people dedicated to D&I in the HR team, which is the case in Lenovo. But if it's not, and by the way, the two can be complementary, there is also a role that the women network can play. And this is something which is mentioned here, the importance of networking group. So when a company is equipped with Lenovo, with a women network, then the women network can also be let's say a lookout or a force of proposal to HR to make sure that the D&I aspects are properly covered. And that's also why, in that regard, surveys like GenderScan are really fueling, the discussion to the HR and to the network, so that we can also use data points to justify, to embed D&I approach in the HR process. And then the second thing that is important for me to mention or to emphasize is, once again, related to network. So creating employee resource group, especially for women, that will not only play a role, as I said, as a force of proposal for HR, but also being the one that foster, the right working atmosphere, the right working environment, where women, can feel more supported. Usually, and that's, my experience by leading the network, women network in France, and contributed in the women network at worldwide level. Really, the network are the expression of the employee about what they want, what they need. So it's a perfect body to make sure that that women can feel more supported. and propose activity that will meet their requirements. For example, we used to run what we call lesson in leadership, where role model, male or more specifically female role model, can also share with all the women what has been their journey, what has been their tips and tricks, and how they have been coping with all those elements that you are mentioning, all those challenges that you are mentioning here. It's also about organizing webinars, which once again will address the key challenges that women may face in the company. It's about valuing the role models, all type of role models, leader role model, but also expert role model. Being able to drive awareness around gender diversity across the company, so not only to women but also to men, which also create, the appropriate support in the company by women being supported by men in their career. So what we call the allyship. So very important to make sure that we encourage men to be ally of a women's career. And something important as well is usually those networks will be a good promoter of the existing program and the existing support, because somehow, and the survey is mentioning it, there are existing programs, but sometimes women are not aware or are not leveraging it. So the network can also encourage the women to benefit from the existing support and the existing program. And maybe something also to mention, when I was mentioning the network, there is maybe two different tier of network. There is a network that you can create within the company, which will support all what I just talked about. But there is also, let's say, beyond company frontier, the ability to create network, if I may say. So this is the case with Lenovo, where we are joining forces with other company from the tech industry or industry company, because we all face the same challenges. We join forces so that we can also have, let's say, a broader influence on the sector of the industry at a national level. That's also something that is supporting women on a more macro level, I would say. And I believe, you can go ahead, Vitória, with the next part.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
So, the gender scan survey is a dynamic survey, as Claudine mentioned in the beginning. So that means we don't ask the same questions to everyone depending on their profile. So people with kids will answer some questions, people without kids won't, and so on. And in one point, the survey divides respondents between those who are satisfied with their jobs and those who are not satisfied with their jobs. So this question is asked only to those who say, I'm happy with my job, I'd stay here for longer, I'm very fulfilled. So we ask them why that is the case. And again, as with students, among satisfied employees, there are minimal gender disparities concerning various job aspects. So acknowledgement by managers and colleagues come first, higher proportions of satisfied, and feedback by management and adequate resources to meet objectives come last, but proportions are also high of satisfied women and men. So there is room for improvement, of course, but overall, all looks good if we look at it from a gender perspective. Now, when we asked unsatisfied or dissatisfied people why they are dissatisfied with their jobs, gender disparities show up, right? So the primary sources of dissatisfaction among both men and women are related to pay and to professional development opportunities. We see some gaps. So women are more likely than men to indicate the satisfaction with pay relative to skills and with the difficulty to access managerial positions. And women, conversely, are more likely than men to report feelings of isolation, of difficulty in social integration at work. They are more likely to feel discriminated against, to be penalized if they use parenting support systems, and to feel that there's a negative environment at work, that they can't bloom, they can't be themselves and be at ease. So this tells us two things. One, companies need to address career progression opportunities to enhance job satisfaction, because this is key for engagement and satisfaction at work. And two, there is a need to improve workplace culture and support systems that promote, a safer environment for all to feel well at work. So, Marine, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, I think one comment, first of all, on the negative environment and difficulty to express myself and to flourish, which is expressed by both male and female. On that aspect, obviously it resonates to what we just talked about with what the Women Network can support, and but more generally speaking, then it highlights the need for companies to create the space for employee resource group to emerge. Not only Women Network, but maybe more generally all type of diversity network. And in that regards, I would like to share the experience that we had in Lenovo in France, where we started by creating the Women Network. That was really, the DNA of what we were doing in diversity and inclusion. And we realized that there was probably an opportunity to drive more attention to those topics if we broaden the topic of diversity and inclusion topics, so beyond gender balanced topic, but also give the opportunity to address different type of diversity, people with disability, different culture, LGBTQ+, and the more we give space to people to take action on all type of diversity, the more it was also benefiting to the woman, by the way, and driving attention to the entire company around diversity and inclusion. That was really a game changer in the way we have been able to drive awareness around the D&I. So by opening to more diversity and make sure that people can propose action on different topics around diversity, and that was ultimately leading to more support for women as well. And then maybe a personal remark on one of the elements, which is it is impossible to access managerial position where male are expressing it at 54% and female at 47%. And I want to say, women should also, be unsatisfied by not having access to managerial positions. So it also highlights or symbolizes, some of the challenge that we have in companies about women daring to ask for more. Yes, they should complain not having access to managerial position as at the same proportion than male. So there is also a big topic in company, which is about making a woman confident in the fact that they have space in the managerial position, that we need them in managerial position, and support them in dare for it and get it. Thanks, Vitória.
Well, thank you. I'm very, very, very grateful to the two of you for the insights you've brought into the subject through your presentations. And actually, you may have noticed that there is a link posted in the chat, so that if you wish, you can contribute to our ongoing research, and we'd love to hear from you. And please feel free to share that with your colleagues in STEM networks, because as you can see, the data, your input is absolutely crucial for us to develop powerful analysis that we can share with top decision makers from the public and private decision sectors. Now, let's perhaps take about 10 minutes to address the questions from the audience. And I have one first question for you, Vitória. Considering that the data that has been presented is global, could you share insights as to how these trends compare specifically in Europe versus the United States? Do we see notable differences, or we've worked on that, so I know you can answer and address that issue.
Sure. Thank you, Claudine. So I'm going to share some conclusions that stem from the data from our previous edition of the survey, because until now we have only analyzed global data from 2024. So concerning the student survey, results suggest that girls have a tougher time in the US than in Europe, both getting into STEM studies and during their STEM studies. So 65% of women studying in STEM in the US say they have been discouraged by teachers, parents, or friends from choosing these studies. And that number is 45% in Europe, so 20 percentage point gap. And they are also more likely to complain about sexism, stress levels, the atmosphere in relationships, and so on. So differences are sometimes of the order of 35% of students in Europe complain about sexism, and 70% complain about sexism in the US. On the other hand, in the US, the motivations of female students are greater than in Europe. So we tend to think that in the US, women have a better image of STEM jobs than in Europe. So they're more likely to say, to associate STEM with interesting operations, with good opportunities for high level of pay, and so on and so forth. Considering the results of the survey addressed at professionals, one remarkable difference concerns satisfaction with flexible work arrangements. So Europeans are more satisfied with those than Americans. Americans are 21% of the respondents to our previous survey say they use remote work and flex time, and 42% of European women resort to those. In the qualitative data, where people can express themselves freely, women in the US say, oh, when I use flex time or remote work, I feel I don't get recognized so much. My managers are not seeing what I'm doing. This is bad for promotions. I need to be visible, and they need to see I'm available. So in Europe, it's more regulated, and this regulations about, times when you can be reached or when you can't be reached, kind of levels the playing field between who's in the office and who's working at home, for instance, or, taking 2 hours of work to get a child to the doctor. It's easily done in Europe than in the US, apparently, from our data. On the other hand, Americans are happier about career management than Europeans. So they are, for instance, 45% to say they have networking groups in their companies, while for Europe that was 11%. So I think there are positive and negative sides on both sides of the Atlantic. These are just some topics. I could go on for longer, but we'll stay here, I think.
Yes, thanks a lot, Vitória. I hope it addresses well the questions that was asked. And actually, we have a complementary question coming from Marianne Kobierski regarding what you've just mentioned. Do you have any insights about the direction of change, i.e., are your metrics showing a trend towards improved gender parity in Europe or in America? Is it speeding up or slowing down for each? I will make a short comment before you answer more completely to that. And that's actually one of the goals we have with the the ongoing survey is to have a more specific measurement of what's been happening over the past 3 years. The answers of everybody will give us indications on that. But Vitória, you have other elements probably to add.
So as I said previously, we unfortunately have not had time yet to concatenate and analyze a whole set of data from this year's survey. So we don't have local or regional data yet to analyze the trends, but I'll speak globally. So we are seeing some improvement. For instance, in the last survey, we had 40% of women who said in working in STEM globally who said they had suffered sexism at work, and data now is at 30%. So this is an improvement, right? And same is true. I don't have the exact numbers in my mind, but same is true for sexual harassment and moral harassment. So we have reason to believe things are going in the right direction. And also the portion of use of parental support mechanisms. So the right to be absent for family reasons, parental leave, company support for childcare, or company-sponsored family activities, they're going up a little bit. So that's also positive news for those who need to balance work and family life. But that's global. As I said, we don't yet have regional results for this year's data.
One question for Marine. You have mentioned the important role of women networks and highlighted their added value to women. Could you share with us some insights as to how these can be successfully developed in a company? Because I was in the annual meeting of SWE last year, and I had a lot of discussions with the women participating to that conference. And for some of them, it didn't seem to be so easy. So you have actually mentioned the fact that opening to DEI rather than focusing exclusively on gender-related issues was an important factor. Well, would there be other key success factors you would like to share with us?
Thanks a lot, Claudine. And yes, I can only acknowledge that sometimes running and developing a network is a challenge. As you said, for me, one of the game changer was when we decided to rename our network with a name which was more inclusive of all type of diversity. So we called it Lenovo All. And we clearly said that, below Lenovo All, so the diversity network, there is different pillars that we are covering. Gender balance was one, which was probably the historical one, but there was also the other pillar, so we were able to attract more volunteers in the diversity network. And obviously those additional volunteers were supporting their own pillar of diversity, but when we needed, they were also supporting the gender women network. So that was a way to get more volunteer, and also a way to unlock some of the negative feedback that some women network can get internally, some pushback about, again, a network of women, blah, blah, blah. So we hear it for so many years. So by saying, we are supporting the broader diversity, what we want is to make sure that we foster a working atmosphere which is positive for everyone. So then, it unlocks some pushback. And
do you think that the wider network, the Interrel network, which is a European and actually global networks, which gathers leading and major company, I don't remember all the name, perhaps you can share with us some of them, the fact that all those women from all these networks of all these large companies meet on a regular basis with an annual convention, do you see that also as a positive factor, facilitating perhaps, exchange of best practices, focusing on specific topics and so forth?
You said it, Claudine. Absolutely. Sometimes we, within a company, we may, feel a bit under-equipped to address the topic. So we need to get best practice from other companies. We need to create events, common events where each company will be able to bring their employee. So that really helps to keep the motivation up, to make sure that we have the focus, that we are more innovative in the type of activity that we propose. So clearly, being able to join meta network, if I may say, is really supportive of any company network. And there is another thing which was also helpful is to get sponsor from the management. So making sure that the network is not something totally isolated from the management and from the leadership of the company. So making sure that you get the right sponsor at the board, so that the network is recognized, valued in the company, even from a business perspective. For example, in Lenovo, I used to say, use us also as a business value. Tell to your customer that we are strong in diversity. Tell to your business partner that we are strong. Make us connect. Let's connect with the network of your customer, with the woman network of your business partner. So use us also as a business advantage. It always, rings a bell to the management. And last but not least, when you want to launch a network, and I said it as a leader of the network, be, kind with yourself, because it's not something easy. It's usually something that you do on top of your job.
Yeah.
So be kind with you, be kind with the people, with the volunteer. Some will be able to spend time on it, and then 6 months later, they cannot anymore, but 6 months later, they can again. So allow people the flexibility to join, to be on pause, to be on hold for some time and join back. It's, acknowledge that it's something that people do on top. So keep their motivation high by not putting too much pressure on them, and just leverage the energy from the people who have the energy to give at some point of time.
Very good. Well, thanks a lot for this very specific advice. I see we've received other questions, but we don't have much time to deal with them. We'll be answering to them very, very shortly. You would like from Robert Berkey, who asked who wants to know more about the differences between the US and the EU. Well, actually, there is an article we have written, which is on SWE website from the last survey, and of course it's in a written form, so you can find it in SWE research, part of the SWE website. And the information on other continents, yes, of course, on that we strongly depend from the number of respondents, and we have been able to gather enough responses from South America. Africa, it's much more difficult because of difficulties in terms of connection. A lot of women who are concerned do not have easily access to they don't always have access to the equipment, the technical equipment. At least that's what we hear, for instance, from Cameroon Association from Mathematician Women in Cameroon. That's what they've told us, and that we have a certain number of associations who've told us that. And for Asia, it's beginning to grow. We've had a certain number of answers from India, and we hope that this year will be more successful in that area. So definitely, the next edition will include data and comparative data to the extent that we have enough, substantial and robust samples. Now, let's move into the transition. Let's move into the breakout rooms. And before we head out into these breakout rooms, we've put a link in the chat for the session survey, because it's very important for SWE and to know about what this session has brought to you, to which extent you feel satisfied, and perhaps also gather your feedback and ideas for further and other sessions. Now we'll enter the breakout rooms. You've had you've heard a lot from us, and it's time for you to share your own experiences. And where basically the way it's going to work is that we'd like you to quickly introduce yourself in these breakout rooms, just your name and where you work. And then we suggest that you the discussion is focused on sharing your personal experience on one or two of the following subjects. On one hand, have you felt comfortable and well supported during your studies and working STEM? And if so, please do share a good example of how it's taken place and how you felt, really supported. On the other hand, if it's the opposite experience you've had, then again, please briefly explain why. And if you have an idea of a type of process or support that could have improved your situation, that could be developed, please share it. For your information, all these are informal discussions. They are not being recorded. And each of you will be getting a prompt to enter a room. So you just need to click on OK. So now have great conversations, and we'll meet again for the wrap-up time in 15 minutes. I hope you had nice conversations. In our breakout room, we had a great conversations, and I'm so grateful to Sylvia and Kate who shared their experience both in Italy, and on one hand in Italy and the other in the United States. So do feel free to share a key takeaway for the rest of it in the chat. If you have a key comment you want to share with us, please do not hesitate to write it in the chat. Please do, before we wrap up, and it's going to last only 1 minute, I'd just like to remind everyone, remember to fill the survey, which is there, written down there, for the SWE purpose, and so that they understand what you feel and how to improve the whole process. Please participate to our global survey. We'll be glad to count on your contributions. And do not miss the next SWE inspiration session, which is going to take place on the 14th of February. And there will be a discussion how to transition from a technical role into leadership with Patricia Carpentieri. And if you want to know more about SWE, you have the SWE website, and everything is written in the chat. So again, thanks a lot for your attention, and bye-bye.